Wolverine. Wolverine.
Pull up a chair. This is Fluxtaposed episode 232, recorded on October 9th, 2018. On the docket today, IRL, our top 3 RPGs. Gosh, it feels like we've talked about this already, but obviously not. Get caught up on what you're playing, featuring Forza, Forza, and Mega Man. Finally, we'll close out the show with a community grab bag, the sweet, awkward finish, and all that stuff. Thanks for listening. Thank you for watching. Please enjoy the show. Hey, I can hear things again. This is so much easier. My life is so much better now.
I wouldn't go that far.
Oh, that's true. Well, don't worry. I've got details to back up that theory. You're right on track, honestly. You really are. You're right on track. Welcome to the show. I am Jason. I'm joined by Lucas.
Hi.
We're here. It's Fluxtaposed. Welcome. We're happy that you decided to listen this week, or maybe return, or maybe you decided to stop listening this week. And if that's the case, then I'm not too happy. I'm actually rather upset with you, and I'm going to voice a verbal complaint to you, sir.
Yes.
Or miss, or madame, or Mrs., or Mr. I'm going to voice my verbal complaint, and I'm going to have strong words with you, Mr., Mrs., to whom this may concern. Strong words. Welcome to the podcast. As we always say, pull up a chair. We're happy you are here. This is Fluxtaposed. We've got a lot of podcasts to do, folks. A lot of life catching up. All the things we do on the show. We're happy to have you here. We'd love to have you join us on Discord, patreon.com, fluxtaposed.com/Discord. I would love to have you on Patreon as well, patreon.com/Fluxtaposed. Inching towards that $90 goal, get you that Fluxtaposed AMA. And of course, we're trying to get to that $100. We're going to give you the giveaways every month. Everyone loves giveaways.
Hundy dollars.
Lucas, before we get too far along, we're still here. We're here streaming live at our new streaming home of Twitch, which is, I bet you guys can't guess, it is twitch.tv/Fluxtaposed, the new live streaming home of the show. Not only do we do the podcast live on Twitch, but we have some irregular and semi-regular gaming streams up there as well, which we'll talk about as we go. But now that that's out of the way, we do have some important business to discuss right at the top of the show, because we're always bad at getting these to you in timely fashion so you can actually watch them in preparation of mayhaps joining the conversation on the show. And that's Netflixation. Yes. And as we always like to do, Lucas and I have each selected a film. I'm not going to tell you who selected which, because that could lead to favoritism. And we don't want you picking on which host you feel is superior or better looking or just a cooler rad dude than the other, because we're both pretty friggin' rad. All right. I don't know how you decide on just one. However, with that said, we have 2 movies that we're going to put on the Twitterverse. We want you guys, the community, to vote as we do. And we're going to have a winner. And then we'll talk about it after Halloween, the first show of November. But we have picked some somewhat scary films in the theme of October, of Halloween, of spookiness. With that, our selections are Baskin, not to be confused with ice cream, Baskin Robbins.
Baskin. And
VHS. That is 2 for those unfamiliar with my excellent use of the French language. So, and spoiler, you don't really need to see VHS, I'm guessing, in order to enjoy VHS 2. I have seen VHS, and I can't really tell you, but who knows? It's an anthology film anyway, so it's probably just a bunch of shorter stories that are spooky regardless. So for you live viewers, or you're watching the video on demand, we're going to actually play the trailers right now. Correct, Lucas?
Yes. I was curious to see how our heads were going to turn out in this, if you know what I'm saying, because of
Oh.
that mix-up earlier. So I was like, oh, what's this going to look like? But yes, they are ready. They are prepared for you.
I can still see the little corner squares in the bottom of the overlay.
Well, not everything's perfect. You learn that.
That makes us look less professional. We're a very professional podcast.
I wouldn't go that far.
So we're, as I said, audio listeners, I don't know. What do you think? Should we keep the audio in on the podcast, or you might cut this out? I don't know how you want to edit it, but
let's see how they play. We will be able to talk over these, by the way, but let's see how they play.
Okay.
And if it's just a bunch of music, then yeah, there won't be any point to it. But
okay. Well, we're gonna watch these trailers now.
All right. First up, Baskin.
That'll make for hopefully there's not a lot of story going on. We can
Yeah.
just fill in
Nedir
the
bu?
details.
Destek bekliyorlar.
These guys are the
İnce ağaç.
band. They're the
Oralardan
joy
çok
life.
hikaye duymuştum bunlar.
Nasıl
Hey,
hikayeler lan?
I've got a walkie-talkie.
Şimdi
Oh, what is it, bro?
tövbe tövbe gece gece.
I forget you're probably way ahead of me because I'm actually
Bize katılmaya geldiniz.
Yeah, so this is
I'm
really
on
great.
the way.
Bunlar ne?
This is great. Oh my gosh, they just hit a guy with the
Hadi abi. Herkes dikkatli olsun, tamam mı?
Is that the guy who plays Poe Dameron?
Why are the frogs? Oh my gosh, he does kind of look like Poe Dameron a little bit. And then
Sen hala farkında değilsin.
Kimsin lan sen? Konuşsana lan!
oh yeah, we should probably gory, not safe for play. So be mindful when you watch this. When you watch
Too, because from what I've
Uyuduğunuz
seen,
gibi
it's very.
ölürsünüz.
This is the first I've seen of it.
Yandığınız gibi
this looks like I'm
dirilirsiniz.
gonna throw this out there. This is hashtag
Looks like Silent Hill.
Don. Ooh yeah.
Baskin.
Notice how there's a keyhole in the word A to kind of like, do things.
All right,
things
I'm gonna
up
play VHS 2 now.
Ooh.
So what's the deal now?
Yeah, unfortunately we can't hear the audio because it pumps
Doesn't look like anyone's home.
the audio straight through
Here, look at this.
Streamlabs, or else you get doubles.
Oh,
So I might have
yeah.
to find a different way of doing this.
Well,
But it works
this
for
is
me.
good for this is good for the time being. So we'll make it work. Also, hey guys, while we're talking about Twitch, we're trying to get to 50 followers. So this would be a great time for you to take a moment, go to twitch.tv/Fluxtaposed and hit that little follow button. We're at 28. We're almost there. More than halfway there at 50. Love to have you there.
That dude just got hit by a car.
Spoilers! What is that thing sticking out of the camera anyway?
A toothbrush. I don't know. I do like a good anthology. It takes me back to the days of Tales from the Crypt.
Oh, yeah. Well, it keeps things fresh, too.
Tales from the Crypt.
You get more story. You get, different stories. And...
A lot of found footage, though.
Oh,
like-
yeah.
Did you hear that?
Oh, is that...
But I think isn't that the point of the thing, is that they're all tapes there? Because I saw part of the first one.
That was like a rubber suit alien guy. Yeah, I think so.
I think either way, by the looks of things.
Wow.
VHS 2.
This should be an interesting vote. I'm interested to see what wins. Oh, that's what the hell, man?
It was in theaters everywhere on my birthday. It must be my birthday.
Should be wow. It'll be an interesting poll. I'm interested to see what's gonna win. I don't know. I don't know what to make of that. That'll be interesting. So there we go. Those were the trailers. Audio listeners, we'll see how this comes through. Maybe you'll just want to go and hit the YouTube link. We do put these. They're cached on Twitch for a little bit, but we do put these the recordings up on our YouTube channel as well. So you might want to go through and at least watch the beginning of it, and you say, hey, you know what? I kind of like what these guys do on the interwebs.
What they'll do is they'll be like, well, I can just YouTube the trailers myself. What are the names? And then they'll be like, I don't have to watch your show.
I don't want to watch
Joke's
this crap.
on
I
you.
barely want to listen to you guys, let alone watch it.
Them boys
So,
saying the
there we go.
swears.
Tomorrow when I get to work, I will put that poll up and you can
Do
vote.
it.
You can vote.
Do it.
Moving on, let's do some IRL. Let's get the show started as
IRL.
we like to. Lucas,
Yeah,
get us caught up.
I want
in
to.
the tales.
I need you to watch the stream. Are you still watching the stream?
Hold on. Yeah.
Okay. So I got some pictures here for you for my little story. But it all starts with, we jokingly decided in Discord that we were going to start a monthly PC podcast so that Donnie would make a PC channel inside of our Discord so that all of our PC talk could happen in there. But for some reason, he was very hesitant about it. And so I just kept joking and basically doing all my PC chat in main chat because he had said that, well, you guys can just talk about your PC stuff in main chat or whatever because I don't want to have 8,000 different splintering channels, which I understand. But I also was like, well, no one's going to talk about PC stuff if there's not a PC chat because it's going to get, I think you even said it's going to get buried in all this other stuff.
Well, I'm a fan of having condensed conversations and keeping things organized in a neat little box. But let's say, if you have too many conflicting conversations of different topics in one area, it's gonna be a lot of noise, and nobody's gonna be able to find the specific piece of information they wanted to talk about.
Right.
Things are going to get buried because anyone can just come in and be like, "Hey guys, look at this cat I just saw," and just send a bunch of pictures, and then boom, everything's gone.
My favorite's the Twitter bomb when somebody just posts a link from Twitter and it just fills up most of the Discord, and you're like, oh, okay. At least on mobile.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, never mind. PC Master Race.
Like I'm very inactive on Discord during the weekends because I'm busy doing other stuff. And if I go in and I see a wall of text in a channel, I just go swipe and, and I don't read anything.
Get rid of the notification, and
exactly.
I'm done. And now I don't feel bad.
Exactly.
So all of this to say that we did finally get our way. And I would say that the PC chat is one of the more active channels, actually. There are quite a few of us in there now that talk PC or dream in PC.
Yeah. You guys make me jealous. I'm not a PC gamer.
Well, that's kind of what happened to me to a certain degree because with all this PC chat that I'm not used to, it started getting my gears working about a case that I've had on my wish list for a long time. And there's many reasons to why I needed a new case, but most of it was because I had a liquid cooler for my CPU. And in the other case that I bought, the original plan was not to have a liquid cooler, mind you. But with my old CPU before I upgraded, I had to have it liquid cooled because the cooler I bought wasn't sufficient enough to cool it down because it needed so much power and it just generated so much heat.
Just doing your video editing, right? When you were back with True Myth, you couldn't even.
It would shut down.
Files.
Yeah, it would shut down because it would overheat. And so I went out to Best Buy and bought this, and it didn't fit in the case. I had to basically use zip ties in the fan grills on the case to kind of rig it up in such a way that it would actually work. And it was like that for a long time.
That's what you always want to do with PC cooling and keeping your processor.
Especially with something that has water in it. So it was like that for a long time until I ended up having to upgrade, as I talked about on the podcast before, when I accidentally scratched my motherboard with the screwdriver when I was trying to clean out the Cody pee, the dog urine inside of it. And so when I did that, I got a Ryzen CPU, and that comes with a cooler. No problem. I just used the stock cooler. Not a big deal, but I kind of felt bad because that water cooler I bought was like $100. So I was like, well, I kind of feel like I should utilize that. And the case that I have isn't very good looking anyway. It was kind of cheaply made. It was pretty, I think it was like $45, which is pretty low. The difference between a $40 to $50 case and a $70 to $100 case is huge. It's still considered more of a budget range at that price to maybe mid-level, but the things that you give up for that $40 level are pretty pretty substantial. One of which is the building materials are typically much thinner.
Yeah.
So overall, I just, I got tired of looking at this thing. And
What would you say based on your past builds? What was your usual budget on a case?
About $50. I usually never go above 50 or 60.
Oh wow! See, I feel like I was always in like the 80 to 120 range, depending.
Yeah, that was the thing that I always felt like I could just skimp on.
Yeah, the case, and then I would hopefully be able to reuse my power supply for multiple builds.
Yeah.
Motherboard, I always wanted to spend like 150, and then processor was like 150 to 250. But I feel like you're really skimping yourself.
And then graphics card, you're all in. You're like, there's the rest
You
of the
gotta
budget.
be, graphics card. You're like everything that's left, like 250. Let's go.
Yep. I guess I'm not getting a floppy drive. It's gotta go. So yeah, it was never really a big deal for me, but I finally decided I had been watching some desk setup videos. Don't do that if you want to not be like, oh man, I really need to buy something new. Don't look at these desk setup stuff on YouTube.
I'm still waiting for something to happen on stream here.
On my stream?
Yeah, there's just a black window.
Oh yeah, I know. I'm getting to it.
No, but I'm
it bothering you?
Here. Yeah.
Okay. Well, then I'll get to the meaty bits. So all that to say, I ordered the case, and the plan was to install the water cooler. I needed to get thermal grease. That came today. Thermal paste, whatever. That came today, surprisingly. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to do this. So I opened it up, and I forgot that the original CPU cooler, which you should be able to see momentarily, has 4 screws in it that screw into the holes on the motherboard where there's a back plate behind it.
Yep.
Now, I didn't know about the back plate earlier when I first started, so that it was a little surprise for me. So I'm looking at this, and I'm like, how is this supposed to go together? Because the water cooler that's on that, the little, not socket, the frame that goes around it that pushes it down or whatever, I can't remember what it's called exactly. But the thing that basically attaches it and sandwiches it down to your motherboard was 2 prongs that came out like top and bottom. They weren't like 4 corners like that. So I'm like,
okay,
what the hell's going on? What the hell is going on?
Thank you.
And
Don't
so,
make me say it.
So I'm looking at all the different options that they had in the box, and what's in the box, but none of them fit. And they were for Intel, and that's why. So I'm looking at this, and I'm like, what? I don't understand what I'm missing. Then I saw these. These are 2 little black pieces that were originally installed on the motherboard that I had to take off to install the cooler that came with the Ryzen. And I'm looking at it, and I'm like, oh, those have the little tabby doos to hold on to the... because it's like a loop and tab system, so you loop.
Those mount on the motherboard, and then you mount.
Yep, and then you mount the water cooler on top of that, and then you have 2 little loops that go under those tabs, and then you cinch it down, and it'll stay in place via tension, I guess, basically.
Okay.
So when I figured that out, I was like, oh, okay, but how do I put these back on the motherboard? Because there were no screws with them. I couldn't find them. So I'm looking all over the place. And then finally I found some screws, and I got it installed, as you'll see in a second. I found some black screws that fit in there. But when I took the cooler off, I forgot that there was a back plate back there. So when I first did it, I'm like, this doesn't screw into anything. What's going on? Then I was like, oh, the back plate fell off, and it's just sitting at the bottom of the case now. So I was like, thank God. But this whole time I'm thinking, am I going to have to order like a different bracket? That's the word I was looking for. A different bracket for this? Like, did I just tear this all apart? Because I'm already like 30 minutes into doing this.
Guys, this is so funny because I'm sure we probably talked this on the show before and just wanted to do this. Like the fact of actually going through and doing stuff with the PC, it's just like, this is so awesome. I love doing this. But then then I'm like, I can't afford to do this again for like 5 years. And then I don't.
I told somebody in the PC chat Discord that it's kind of like putting a puzzle together. You just kind of like I get really like focused in what I'm doing in a good way, and I like it. So once I got
if I had time to donate plasma again, I would do that with the hopes of just saving up for a PC. which I
Yeah.
guess I could do if I could donate like I used to. I could do it in like 4 months. I could have an uber awesome PC
Well,
in 4 months, but
I'll go
I
with
also really
you.
need that money to. I also need that money to pay off debt.
Yeah,
so-
that's the other thing is like whenever I make extra money, it's not typically okay for me to just like save it for one specific thing.
Yeah.
Even if it's my blood, it's like, come on. So you can see in this picture the tabby doos that I was talking about because there's only 2 of them. So you can see why I was originally frustrated. Also, that says HDMI right there for some ungodly reason that I don't know. And then finally, this is the completed build for those of you who haven't seen. I got that in there and was able to. Another thing I hadn't done was front mounted the radiator. The last time I had it on the top, but it doesn't work here to do it that way. I would have preferred it that way, but it only does front mounted radiator. So got it all in there, and it's looking good, man. I had one of the big things, and this is going to sound really stupid, but one of the big things I wanted to achieve by putting the water cooler back on there is getting that Corsair red LED, or I mean, it's whatever color you want it to be, because that was like a dark spot when I don't have a light shining in it like I do right now. It's really dark in that one corner because the other cooler didn't have any lights on it. So it kind of made everything look weird because the motherboard has lights. There's a lighting strip that came with the case. The case was a really good value, by the way. Very, very happy with the Fantex Eclipse.
Where did you buy it from?
Edition. I got it from Amazon for the free shipping. It was pretty much the same price everywhere.
I mean, that's the thing now. Like when we were growing up gaming on PCs, Amazon didn't exist, so it was pretty much Newegg was pretty much where you got
or Tiger
everything
Direct.
from Tiger Direct, yeah, but
Or
almost
go to
always
Grand Rapids
Newegg.
and go to CompUSA before they closed.
So now it's crazy now that Amazon's such a player because now I feel like you're just going to end up buying everything from Amazon, which adds another debacle.
Well,
It's like, now I have the Amazon card and the 5% pack, so it's not like I'm really.
That's also true, and that's the other thing is like that's where I got the thermal paste from. So I mean, it's kind of like my one-stop shop for just about everything.
Oh gosh, I have to say I said it off before we started. I think that case looks awesome. I love how clean it is.
Thank
I don't
you.
like my case. I've had this for a while. I'd love to. I feel like I could get a smaller case because so much is taking up. Like you don't need CD-ROM drives anymore.
Well, that was something I didn't realize that isn't in this case, and I was like, oh shoot, because I use mine as a Blu-ray player. I was gonna say also I got those red cables. Those didn't come with the. But that also sets off the design a little bit.
Yeah.
You don't. There's so much that you can get rid of, and even just having that basement where the newer cases have that PSU shroud to cover a big portion of the bottom. Nothing good ever happens down there. You know what I mean?
No.
So you can hide your hard drives down there. Your PSU stays down there.
I'll just post a picture of the inside of my case because it's just a tangly mess of wires.
I want to see
especially because of the power supply unit. It's like an octopus. It has all those different adapters coming off of it, and I've got lines running up. The audio lot cable running through, and then just like my case fans have a little remote inside where you can toggle the speeds, and those dangle around. It's just a mess. The cable management's terrible.
Yeah, they've definitely gotten a lot better about like supplying cable management channels and ways on the other side, like the back side of the case where you can this was pre-installed with tie downs, Velcro ones, which was nice. And like the fans were already hooked up because there's a fan button that I can press that controls the speed of the fans. So yeah, I'm really happy with this upgrade. And I don't know. I like to come down, and when I'm doing working, gaming, creating, whatever, I like to have a fairly clean space and a fairly aesthetically pleasing one. Like my office is this awful lavender color because we haven't painted it yet. And it's just like trying to take those strides towards making it more of a creative space or whatever.
Look at my ugly poop brown down here, but then
at least that's a manly color.
The fact of having to tape and move stuff to paint down here doesn't excite me.
Well, and you have a much larger, there's no clean break for you. This is a closed room. You would have to paint pretty much the entire basement.
I have 3 of your rooms down here
Yep.
that I have to paint, essentially. So
That's the one good thing about having them already install like walls, basically. So, but yeah, like I said, really happy with it, and that was pretty much my big project for the last weekend. And like I said, I'm one of those people who would just run my PC out of a cardboard box until I get bothered to actually make the change. But since I did, I do not regret it at all. And I mean, I jokingly said, now I can expect a 15% increase in my frames per second, right? Because
yeah,
it just looks better. Yeah. But
that's got to be how it works.
so yeah, that was my IRL.
Awesome. For myself, we've got the big anniversary trip coming up this weekend. Got Friday off from work, going up to Traverse City area, Sutton Bay, Michigan. Friday through Sunday, staying in the tiny house through Airbnb. So looking forward to that. It's our first.
Is it really a tiny house?
Yeah, it is a tiny house.
Oh, that's cool.
Our first trip away from Aiden. So the first time, I think it sounds like Justice parents will be watching them, and I think they're actually going to be staying here in our house because it's just easier. All this stuff's here. It's like, oh yeah, that totally makes total sense. So, which is kind of weird at the same time too. It's like, oh, someone else is staying in our house and taking care of our kid. But I think like her parents are like really looking forward to it.
Don't go in the basement and look in my jerk off station.
He's going to be really excited and have a lot of fun with his grandparents. And, you know, I can talk how excited I am to it, but then it's I'm like, oh, where's my baby?
Yeah.
You know that's going to come.
Isn't it weird how you get like a little bit of guilt because you're just like, I should be taking care of my kid?
Right. Well, here's the fun part. We got that coming up, but this directly translates into the next story. We got the road trip. Well, the Equinox is in the shop right now. So you already knew about this because it's making some weird funky noise and I just want to get it checked out. Well, that noise has continued to happen. It seems to have, I don't know if it's gotten worse, but it's still there. And there's some other weird symptom that's acting up. So got to get it fixed anyway. And hopefully it's not too severe. You know, I hope that it's not going to cost a lot of money.
A car thing not
it's
cost a lot of money?
Because it stinks that this is the third time that we had this car looked at since, you know, we haven't owned it a year yet. But kind of fluke things. You know, we had the headlight thing was kind of this weird situation that it just happens, you know, and then the other thing was the radio. But I mean, so you know, when we had that check engine light, that was nothing. It was just, you know, but so there's those things. But all of a sudden, I'm driving home today in my car, and I'm like, I noticed this weird sound when I was turning this morning. It's like, that doesn't sound normal. And I'm driving home, right? And it's hot here in Michigan. All of a sudden, we're hitting 80 degrees. So I don't usually use the AC, but today, like, okay, I'm cranking on the AC. And as I'm driving, I'm like very distinctly, as I'm driving, I'm like, I hear like water sloshing. Like, what the heck? Like, I hear like the sound of water.
That's a very
like,
distinct
trickling.
sound. Yeah.
And I'm like, what the heck? So I drive and I get to a stop and I like shut the AC off and I drive and I'm like, I don't hear it. I don't hear it now. And then I had that weird sound like when I heard the AC on and when I was turning, it was like the fan was really struggling the fan was making a funky sound too. And I get home and I look and I'm like, okay, there's nothing like dripping from the car. I check under the hood, everything looks fine. And I just happened to go around to the passenger side and I'm there looking on I was looking at the floorboards for whatever reason. All of a sudden I look up and underneath the passenger side, underneath the dash, the fabric there is like distinctly wet.
Oh no.
Like very wet. So I'm like, I like rip it down. I don't know if I can put it back up there. I might have ripped it. And sure enough, it's all wet up in there. And first I'm like, what the heck? And my personal deduction is that like the drain for the HVAC system has gotten backed up or clogged. So the water can't drip because there's no, like from running the AC, there was no water dripping out of the bottom of the car at all. And that's especially on my car, I could always tell when I had run the AC because it was like,
you get a puddle under
moisture. Yeah. So I'm hoping that's just the case that's gotten clogged somewhere and that I don't know if they snake them or what. Like I tried to look online for my car. I couldn't even find anywhere like a schematic or an actual location where that is, where I can even look for it. So I'm like, well, luckily it's not so hot, so I don't really need the AC right now.
Yeah.
So I'll just deal with it till we get back next week, and I'll just have to get that taken care of too. Like, so luckily, since I hope that's what it is, I'm like, okay, it's not a severe thing because like my car is kind of a piece of junk now, but I'm going to keep it a piece of junk because it's my get to work. It's my get to work beater. You know, I don't care about that car really anymore. As long as it gets me to where I need to go. It's got 140, just over 140,000 miles. So
Yeah.
I'm going to drive that until it's like at least 200. So as long as it's drivable, I don't really care how serviceable it is.
140 miles, 140,000 miles is kind of like the second major checkup time period. You usually get it about 70 to 90,000 miles, and then again at about double that. So
yeah,
that's usually when a lot of people are like dumping their cars, is to around those two different times, because you got to do a lot of maintenance, like major maintenance, like depending on how you've been driving it. If it's highway miles, it might be a little different, but
Right. So hopefully that's all it is. It was funny because we had to drop the other car off at the shop tonight, so they can work on it tomorrow. And I took Aiden to get adjusted at the chiropractor, and I have that that fabric ripped out. And as I'm driving, there's just water. Like, luckily I have some pretty heavy duty like the hard rubber floor mats with some channels, so that's been collecting most of the water. So luckily the floor hasn't really gotten wet. So
nice.
I'm just, I have to turn the corner, I hear sloshing, I just see water dripping out. I'm like, this is, man.
There's an episode of on Amazon Prime. It's the new Top Gear, the Grand Tour, and they had a challenge to see who could make a vehicle that could get fresh fish inland in a like really poor African town.
I think I saw some of this with you. Or I feel like you showed me some of it.
And one of them decided to make basically an aquarium in the back of a car, and every time he would stop, because he didn't think about it, every time he stopped, all the water would just come sluicing down onto him. It just got him all wet every single time, all this fish water. And so that's just what I imagined for you.
I mean, at least I'm glad because at first I'm like, man, I hear water. This is insane. And so I'm glad I was able to like figure out, where it was coming from.
That's one of those noises that bugs you too. You know what I mean?
So,
like, what the hell is that? What's going on?
Like, I've suspected that one of my, like, maybe the fan belt or something's been acting up too, but I don't need it. Like, I don't need AC because, like, my car has been driving funky when I would run the AC anyway. So I'd rather, like, well, I don't really need it because I'm only driving 15 minutes to and from work. So
sounds like you need to tighten up that belt pulley.
Well, I just need the power of Matt Knight apparently, and just go back home and do all this car work and rip apart exhaust.
Yeah, I thought I had
pictures on Discord.
Rose and Sons garage, but apparently.
So it's like, man, what else? Like Jess had her oral surgery today, and we got the one car worked on. Now my car is just like, come on, man. And it's just like, this is how it always goes for us. So I feel like 2018, I'm just going to limp my way through and somehow have enough money to continue to eat. And then hopefully in 2019, we can get back on our feet.
You won't have enough. There's never. It's always something else.
It won't. So I'm hopefully that's all it is with my car. Hopefully it's a rather inexpensive fix. And, we'll be back on our way.
Bring it around the shop here and we'll just take a look at it for you. I'll charge you a 6-pack and
that'd be nice.
pack of smokes.
I need a person like that. I don't have one. And lastly, we had this neighbor, next door that we're on pretty relative good terms with. We talked to them. They seemed cool enough. And all of a sudden on Sunday, like I noticed there were some cars out there, and I noticed because they have a daughter who's probably like a junior in high school. And so, like around 16, 17, she can drive, got her license, I think, last year. So I think she's probably around 17. I know her and her mom were having like this heated conversation. Yes. And then a bunch of cars were there, like other family members. And then I told her, Jess, I'm like, Jess, shit's going down next door. And she goes, yeah, I saw all those cars out front. I'm like, no, there's like something going down. And next thing you know, there were multiple cars out front. And then all of a sudden, like stuff was getting loaded into cars. Like in garbage bags. And this was like Sunday afternoon, random time in the rain. So, this isn't a planned
Somebody's
move.
Leaving.
And so first we're like, is the daughter just moving out? I'm like, no, that's Jenny, her mom. We're like, that's her stuff too. What is going on? And then because I don't believe they're married, but the male figure in the scenario isn't helping at all. So we're like, this can't be good. and then all of a sudden they're gone, and so there must have been some sort of falling out in the relationship.
When
and
they
she
drove
must,
away, was there anybody? Was he just like standing out with his hands on his hips, just kind of staring at him, just like, huh? Well, now what I'm gonna do?
Well, I've seen him in passing a couple times since then. That same night, and then today when I got home from work. But it hasn't been a situation where I can be like, "Hey, what's going on? How are you doing?" Because he actually recently just lost his job too, because they like closed down. They shut down the plant that he worked at, and so he's in between work. Now this happened. It's just like,
oh my
holy
gosh,
crap,
they're gonna make a
going
movie out
on?
of this guy.
And then and of course, Jess and I are just like conveniently sitting in the living room watching it all unfold from our front window. But Jess did reach out to the daughter and her mom the next day, and it's like, hey, I'm sorry I didn't get a chance to go and say something, and blah blah blah, because we didn't want to like. Jess would have if I would have told her to, but I was like, I don't think we should that's their business. We shouldn't
just
go
walk
shoving
up and be like, what's going on here? What's going on, guys?
But then of course they're like, oh, it would have been fine, da da da. So crazy stuff. Crazy situation.
I don't know. I don't think I'd want my neighbors just to walk in if I was in that.
Well,
I guess it depends.
Yeah, well, Jess would talk to her pretty much on a regular basis when she'd
that's
take
true.
Aiden for walks. So it's not like we didn't ever talk to them. Like when we'd leave town, she'd come over and water our plants for us.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I guess you got a little bit more of a.
I'd buy them a 6-pack for their trouble and stuff like that. So
6-pack of what? Something good or just Budweiser?
Yeah, he wouldn't care. Fred wouldn't care. But
that's true. Free beer is free beer.
So.
You drink whatever's given.
So, Fluxtaposed family, I need your blessings to make my car repairs less damaging, or you can just PayPal me all your money. You can just do that too. That'll help too.
Let's start a Kickstarter for you.
I'll drop my deets in the show notes.
Nice.
Or I'll just steal all the Patreon money when Lucas isn't looking.
No. Something's bound to break around here. We're gonna have to replace something, I'm pretty sure. Look at I got this.
Don't joke about it, it'll be my PC. Oh yeah, look at you got a windscreen.
Windscreen.
Mine got lost in their shipment from Singapore.
So I ordered some windscreens because I got tired real quick. I got tired of just having a pop screen like just in the shot because I have to put my microphone so close to my face.
Well, it's kind of distracting too. It takes up a lot of space. Plus with mine it's not really, it doesn't work really well. And then there's this whole cabling. So
well, and if you're streaming games and you're trying to talk in your microphone and you have this wire going in front of your monitor and you're trying to see what you're doing, there was just a lot of clutter. So I was like, you know what if I just try a foam windscreen? Screw it. And I know you had said that you wanted to too. So, but your microphone's a little bit bigger. That's why we couldn't just order the same thing. So I ordered
mostly a lot of the microphones have built-in windscreens too, but I don't trust them.
I wouldn't trust them. I would think they would have to have a small one just to make sure moisture didn't get into the
test it. Give me a good
it's not as good, I'll tell you that right now. From here it is, but I like to get up close. But anyways, so I ordered the separate package for you and had it sent to your house, and it never got sent. It just never. USPS said we're waiting for a package, and I didn't check on it for like 5 days because I had assumed that it was gonna get there like a couple days after when it was supposed to. Plus, it wasn't coming to my house, so it's not like I would have known one way or the other. So then I was like, did that ever come? Because I haven't gotten a shipped notice from Amazon. And you're like, nope, I don't think it's ever showed up. So I looked at it, and sure enough, I ended up getting a refund on it because I don't know. I guess they didn't ship it out. I guess that's what I would have to assume. That's what happened. Never left the point of sale. So
bastards,
or point of storage, whatever you want to call it. And they are bastards. You're absolutely right.
That's right. Well, I'm depressed now.
Okay.
Let's bring things up. Are you ready for the main event?
The land of make believe and take all our cares away.
Let's go to Fantasyland, guys. Gals, we decided that it's time for another Fluxtaposed top 3 because that's what the show document I made a long time ago told me, and I feel like we've talked about this was very similar, but I think we might have talked about favorite games or somehow this has come up because I feel like this list feels familiar to me, but I definitely don't think we've done RPGs. So.
The thing about RPGs is that we've done the music one, and that usually comes up.
That's
RPGs
true.
come up, and then we also did favorite moments in video games, and a lot of times RPGs are story heavy, so they're going to feature more of your favorite story moments. So, but I was like, are you sure we haven't done this already?
Yeah, that's a good point. So we have those. We did ask you, the listeners, the community. We got some submissions from you as well. But we're going to start off with Lucas and myself, our top three. Lucas, I have to go. I am going to go in ascending order. So starting out with my number 3, Xenogears.
Yeah.
Which shouldn't really be surprised that this is my top 3 because I've talked about this game a lot. And I feel kind of, spoiler, I feel kind of crummy because my top 3 is all Squaresoft RPGs. I feel like that's kind of janky.
Well, mine, I was almost in a similar situation, but not with Squaresoft. So
yeah. But at the same time, I'm like, well, you know what though? It wouldn't be true because if you examine my history with RPGs, you know, I didn't play anything. I didn't play anything on the NES. I didn't have a Super NES, and I find that the Super NES was very superior to the Genesis in terms of RPGs. So I didn't play anything there. True. And I didn't really get introduced into what an RPG was until I was hanging out with one of my friends in middle school, and he had a Super Nintendo, and he showed me a few games, and then I was like so excited about the idea of the genre that I had. You know, I had a PlayStation, I had a specific game pre-ordered, but that'll come up later in my list. But Xenogears, I remember, I think it was an advertisement I must have saw on a gaming mag for it, when I still remember the tagline was "Stand tall and shake the heavens." And I remember I gravitated that, and I don't know what, maybe it was previews of the game, and I just love the concept of being able to get in, like, mechs play a huge part in this game. You get inside a giant mech, and you have and that's a big component of it.
Yeah, normally a mech game would be an action game, but here it was part of a turn-based. Well, sort of turn-based.
Sort of turn. No, it was turn-based. And what I think I gravitated to, what I liked about this game is that the backgrounds and everything were 3D, but then all the character models were 2D sprites, which was a cool. And don't think like Final Fantasy where you had that pre-rendered, or Resident Evil with that pre-rendered. These were still the actual 3D backgrounds, and you had the 2D sprites. And the combat system, it's turn-based, but you had different types of attacks. You had a weak attack, a medium attack, and a heavy attack. And you had so much energy to spend, and you could create attack combos by the way you would. So I could do 2 lights and a heavy, or, you know, and I could do different attacks like that. And eventually you would learn by doing that multiple times, you would unlock combos, which would be actual attacks you could use. And they were different for each character. And then same thing with, inside your mechs, you had different attacks that you unlocked as well. And while the mechs were 3D rendered as well, versus the sprites of the characters, the actual mechs were always 3D also. So I think it's also safe to say Xenogears is probably known for having a very convoluted and very confusing storyline, which I haven't played this since the days of the PlayStation, so I can't comment if it makes any sense to me at all. But there was Xenogears, and then Xenosaga, I think. There was like another game. There was another game that was like in this more closely to Xenogears. And then, to my knowledge, to my knowledge, that's been the only games in the series, and there hasn't been anything else since then. But I would love a remaster of Xenogears.
Here's the this is interesting. Here's the breakdown timeline of release years. So I don't know if it's the Xeno universe. So I'm assuming these all link together. 1998, Xenogears. 4 years pass. Xenosaga Episode 1.
So I was right about Xenosaga. Okay.
2004, Xenosaga Freaks in Episode 2. Then 2006, they released 1 and 2 again, and then the third episode. Then finally, 4 years pass, and you get Xenoblade Chronicles in 2010. 2015, Chronicles 3D and X, and then finally present day, Xenoblade Chronicles 2 and
see, I don't think these are anything related, like Xenoblade and Xenogears and all that. I don't think there's any sort of connection there except name, especially since Xenoblade and those are completely different development teams and companies.
Originally planned as a 6-episode story, Xenogears represented the 5th episode in the saga.
Wow.
How does that work? I'm gonna I was gonna say I'll start with the 5th episode. Yeah, and then the Chronicles, I think, are separate, but they don't really.
I refuse to believe that Xenoblade Chronicles is connected to Xenogears in any way.
I'm trying to find an actual. I think they're just linked by the idea of Xeno, because they go
dumb.
into this the theme of.
I mean, there has to be
something
there has to be
strange
some
or
connection
foreign.
there because there are like mechs in the Xenoblade series as well. But in Xenogears, you didn't have to wait for it. You know, you got it like right out the gate, and it was awesome.
Yeah, that's true.
I think that's ultimately why I really liked it. I loved that whole that combat system. It was I mean, I did complete the game. I finished it. It was a long game. I'd say pretty memorable music, but just it's for sake of parody and time. It was just.
It also had anime cutscenes.
It had anime cutscenes, which are also really cool too. It's on my top 3. I mean, that's all that's matter. It made an impact on me. I enjoyed the characters. And there's a guy that looks like he's a direct ripoff of Blanca, and I have no idea why. Literally, he looks just like Blanca. He's green and has orange hair.
It's funny because it's so far away from what I would expect you to play now.
Yeah, right.
It makes you wonder. I always wonder if I would like something if what I liked back then came out now. You know what I mean? Because your tastes always change and everything.
Well, I'll explain my RPG journey once we get there.
Yes. Well, I'm sort of going,
and then it'll make more sense.
I'm sort of going in a similar theme here, as in I had to think outside of the boxes and not be stuck on just one, because I could just say a developer's name, and most people would be like, oh yeah, that makes sense. But let's start with one of those.
BioWare.
Yeah, BioWare. But I'll start with my number 3, and that's Knights of the Old Republic.
Knight of Old Republic raid stuff.
Series.
Go.
Now I said series
Team
just because
Team Ninja.
I said series because I didn't feel like picking one, but I guess if I had to, probably 2, just because it kind of did everything better. But yeah, Knights of the Old Republic was one of those games where obviously I had played RPGs before, but this one was Star Wars related first of all, and it was I think it was the first real RPG Star Wars game. You know what I mean? As far as action,
It was well, I think
RPG
that and this was like the very first like very story heavy Star Wars game. I mean, you can make the argument that and I read a pretty good piece on this that Shadows of the Empire. But I mean, besides Dark Forces, Shadows of the Empire, those are the main like story and original stories we saw in Star Wars that were just retelling, you know. And because let's face it, like Rogue Squadron or Rogue Leader, those don't have a lot of story to them. It's just like go destroy the Empire.
They just have like little mission story.
Yeah, but this is definitely the first RPG and the definite like. I think this was the first like expanded. It was, I guess you could say it was expanded universe, right? At the time. Now I guess it would be considered Legends.
I wouldn't. I don't. I remember
this
when
was canon, right? This is Star Wars canon. It was what it was, at the time when it came out.
I think so, yeah. Because it was originally published by LucasArts at the time, so I would imagine so. The first one was anyway, and it came out in 2003. And I remember thinking at the time, I was like, "Why are they doing the Old Republic? Because it's 1,000 years, I believe, before what happens." Like what we would know of Star Wars, if you just watch the movies. But then I played the game and I was just so enamored by, you know, visiting new planets and getting people. I'll always remember Karth because he was basically Han Solo to a certain degree. And then HK-47, I believe, in his meat bags voice and always hating people and. Well, and the cool thing was, I think one of the coolest things was kind of the precursor to the Paragon system, where you had, you know, your light side and your dark side. Yeah. Or you know, you could be anywhere in between, and you'd also have your teammates who would either like what you did or dislike what you did or whatever.
And your actions would affect the I mean. Sadly, I've only played maybe a quarter of this game. I never played through it to its completion.
Okay.
Was it safe to say too that your actions the choices you make too affect how the story plays out, like how other characters that you affect how other characters interact with you or perceive you, or is
I'm
it
not
quite that?
sure because I've
Not
only
quite to
played
that
through.
point yet.
I think I only played through it once, and I think there was a main story that couldn't really be affected, but I do think there were secondary things that could, maybe not affect the story, but affect your standing or something like that. You know what I mean? Maybe certain characters leave the party and some stay with you, that type of thing. But as far as changing the story,
Yeah.
I mean, they still can't really get that right with Mass
Right.
Effect. So, I mean, but yeah, it felt like it was a living story that you were.
Yeah.
And that's,
I
I mean,
mean,
really, what's the difference?
Well, I mean, let's talk about it. Well, we won't talk about it too much, but let's face it. This game probably has known as one of the greatest endings. Definitely of that time period for games, like that
Yes.
twist ending that what happens to that story plays out and you find out who exactly you are. Plus, they just created, I think, one of the coolest characters in Star Wars is Revan. I think
Yeah.
Darth Revan is one of the coolest characters. I read books about him, and then plus we saw. I mean, this got this whole concept. We created this whole Old Republic timeline, fleshed it out. We saw that used again down the road in Star Wars: The Old Republic, the MMORPG, and we saw Revan show up in that. HK-47's in there. They pulled a lot of elements from. Plus, I mean, just the whole way that game plays.
Mm-hmm.
Was used.
Very
And this
similar.
was the first RPG that BioWare made in that style, right?
Yes, I believe so, because some of their other games beyond that were actually quite older.
Because so then we saw what this became. I mean, look at they had this, and then what Jade Empire was the next one.
Yep, Jade
Because
Empire.
BioWare didn't develop the sequel to Knights of the Old Republic. That was a different studio that did that. If I'm correct.
Yes, you are right.
So we had Jade Empire, and then what was
Mass
next?
Effect.
Mass Effect was okay. So we saw
Yeah.
Mass Effect and then Dragon Age and so on and so forth. So I mean, this is the hallmark of the. This is what finally kind of put in my eyes. This is what really put Western RPGs on the map of competing with the JRPG counterparts in terms of quality gaming experience.
And especially on a console, because before
Yeah.
that they had largely just done PC stuff, and this came out for just about everything. So
You can play it on everything now. I mean, it's on tablets, it's on smartphones, it's on.
I'd love to see it get a
everywhere.
remake. That would be just upgrade the textures and the character models.
Yeah, the textures. I think, especially like the animations. I think are probably extremely rough.
That was
now, like
another
the
cool
combat
thing.
and-
Actually, the combat. It does it to today's
by,
standards.
by
it looks
today's
pretty
standards,
good.
yes, but
Or, I
by
mean, it
then,
looks pretty bad. But back then, like the way that they were fighting with lightsabers or force, or whatever those blades were, the vibrating ones. I don't remember.
vibra blades.
Vibro blades. Just the way it looked when they were sword fighting was so cool. Of course, now it would probably look repetitive on loop, but back then it was like, whoa, you're really sword fighting. Because before that, it just seemed like you'd see, the same swing animation over and over or whatever,
Yeah.
like Diablo or something like that. So, yeah, Knights of the Old Republic.
a good pick.
I actually
Good pick.
almost went back and played it again, and I probably will try to at some point. Not anytime soon.
I think I stopped when you got to the Jedi Temple when you had to like make your lightsaber and stuff. I think that's as far as I got
Okay.
with it.
That's pretty
But-
far though.
It's pretty far. That was like in between game sessions at LAN parties. They're like, oh, play KOTOR.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, that's a good pick. That's a good pick. My
Thank you.
second pick is a game I haven't even finished, guys. I've never even finished, but I've seen
Same.
I've seen multiple endings. I've played a significant amount of this game.
I've started it
I-
about 1,000 times.
Yeah, I've owned it. I wish I still had my PlayStation because I had the copy of this on PlayStation, which was this and I think Final Fantasy 4 or 5. It was one of the previously unreleased ones, and it's the one that has the anime cutscenes for Chrono Trigger. And well, there it is. That's the game, Chrono Trigger. Spoiler, that's the game. My pick for number 2 is Chrono Trigger. Just a fantastic game. I think the characters, especially, I think are really very interesting. It hits some of the RPG tropes in the levels that you experience.
They
but
weren't tropes at the time. Is
They weren't,
part of
yeah.
the thing.
Yeah, that's true. This kind of set those tropes. I think it has some iconic music. It has this
the music is great.
the great mechanic of going back and with the story of traveling, going back and forth in time. You've got Gato. He has silver points. I mean,
Beat him up and get
Yep.
yeah. He's got
I have metal joints, beat me
Metal
up,
jo-
and
yes,
get silver
thank you.
points. I mean, things like that. I love the Frog and the Masamune. I mean, the fact that you can get Magus in your party if you do things right. It's
and the fighting
all those
system
cool
was
little twitches.
the fighting system was quite different for the time too, because most things were just here's your party on the left side and here's the enemies on the right or whatever.
Yeah, it could be
And-
different. It was always different depending on like the encounters, and you had the
Team
the
up moves.
team attacks. Yep, just a lot of cool things with Chrono Trigger. I think that set it apart. The fact that there are multiple endings that you can get.
Well, you can go to
fact
the bad guy whenever you want. That's what screwed.
Yeah.
I got really far, and when I didn't know what to do,
Go fight Lavos. See
I
what
went.
happens.
Yeah, and then I died. I was like, well, shit. And I think I screwed up because I saved in a way that I couldn't really get back to what I don't know. I screwed it up somehow, but I tried killing Lavos. And I had Magus at the time too, which was cool because you're like, what? If I do certain things, I can get Magus in my party? That's awesome. I think I'm saying that right anyway. Magus.
Magus, Magus. Yeah, Frog was the Frog Robo. Let's see if I can. Luca. I can't remember. Merle. I'm surprised I remember that many of the characters, but just a lot of cool things. I mean, I played this game. I almost beat it on my phone, playing on an Android.
Oh,
on an
God.
Android phone on an emulator. I mean, that's how far I wanted to get through it, and then I think something corrupted my data. But I don't know if it's because I've played it so many times. I don't think it's ever going to be a game I'm probably ever going to play through. Just
Yeah.
because I've done it so many times
Well, it's
already.
hard to that whole first section up until I get to the church thing, like where you play the organ and it drops down and you fight. Eventually, you fight the guy who I was always saying yes indeed, because I would type yes indeed, and it reminded me of Ozzy. I think it was Ozzy.
Oh,
You
yeah,
fight
yeah.
him. I think.
Well, you fight Ozzy and Flea, and then who's the other rocker's name? I can't remember. They have another one they snuck in there. Ozzy, Flea, and I can't remember now. But
Axel. I don't know.
probably. I mean, it's just it's a shame too. But maybe I guess if it was ever like if this got the same remake treatment that oh gosh, what's that that illusion Secret of Mana got?
Oh,
you
yeah,
know,
yeah.
that style. I think then that
That
changes
really
things.
came and went, by the way. That
Yeah, I just
I don't
think
hear
it was,
anyone talking about that at all.
I just don't think it was that good. I think so.
Yeah, maybe that was.
I
it.
think I would be very interested in that, but I mean, they've already. I mean, what's incentivized Square to do that? Because it still sells. They put it on a mobile port that sold, and then they created this version on Steam, which was terrible because it was basically a port of that mobile port. I guess they've
Ugh.
improved it since then, but I don't know. I hope to play it at some point, but I'd much rather would play a remake. And like I said, it's a hard investment for me to go through now and
Yeah.
try to play that game again, just because I've done it so many times and just never
Mhm.
finished it. But I think it's a great game.
But the
a lot
fact
of
that you
cool
keep trying to go
concepts.
back to it shows how good it is. Because why would
Yeah.
you if it was?
One of
bad?
my to plug it. One of the greatest. One of the more recent great OC remix albums I like is it's. I don't remember what it's called, but it's a jazz cover from jazz covers of Chrono Trigger, and it just has this great music. I love it. Great game.
Good pick. Solid pick, as I think we'll see later. A lot of people would agree with you. Now, for me, I had to really think about whether or not to include this one because it is a very important game that shaped my life early in my life. And I've talked about it before. And I thought to myself, well, is it an RPG really? But then, I mean, it's in the name. It's an MMORPG. And the game is Ultima Online. The reason why I included this isn't just because I have fond memories of it. A lot of it had to do with the way the systems worked. And I wasn't familiar with the Ultima series at all because up to this point, I think there had been 7 games or something like that before Ultima Online came out. And
those were all single player experiences, right?
yes.
Yeah.
And in the Ultima universe, you only play as yourself, and it was an isometric view, and it was 2D. At least Ultima Online was all 2D sprites and everything. But you would play with other people, and the way that you leveled up, so to speak, was by doing the actual thing that you're trying to level up. And so you wouldn't have levels necessarily. You would gain percentage of ability, I guess, or affinity towards whatever you're doing. So if you blacksmith and you want to just, raise your blacksmithing up to 100%, which is grandmaster skill level, you would just blacksmith. You would create 8,000 breastplates or whatever, and eventually you would finally get that last percentile of that you needed to get to 100%. And the fact that you leveled up certain skills just by using them felt so fresh at the time, because normally you would just kill monsters until you got X amount of XP, and then you would just level up whatever you wanted to, like say Dungeons and Dragons or something like that. You would just level up your strength or whatever, or you take a new skill or whatever it was. But in Ultima Online, you, by just using the skill that you wanted to upgrade, all you had to do was play the game. And that was cool. You know what I mean? Like if you're going to be a blacksmith in this game, you're already mining for ore, for instance, or if you were making leather armor and stuff like that, you were tailoring. So there was always kind of these skills that would go together and kind of make a character anyway. If like you wouldn't have like I'm a ranger or whatever, but you kind of ended up that way sometimes if you focused on specific skills. You could only have...
I was just going to say, I was just going to say, like, this is one of those games that reminds me, like, when I came into PC gaming, like, this is kind of like the hallmarks of, like, at the time for me, where I think one of the classics, like, classic examples of what was available on PC at the time, like, these games that I wanted to play so bad that had no concept of Star Wars Galaxies, Dark Age of Camelot.
Yeah, Star Wars Galaxies.
This game, I guess you could say Counter-Strike as well. Then I remember I wanted to play Shadowbane for the longest time.
Yes,
that was going to be like, and then that failed horribly.
Yeah, there were a lot of failures.
I mean, a lot of bad like MMOs, which is a trend we still see continuing now, is that, these ideas that don't stick. Like I just saw a headline, I think WildStar. Remember WildStar?
Yeah.
That's shutting down.
Yeah, I did get the email for that. Yeah, it definitely was a time of innovation, and I feel like at that time too, they were just trying everything, and like you said, you some stuff would end up working, some wouldn't. One of the people in chat says Dark Age of Camelot, which is funny because that's the game I tried to go to after I was kind of done with Ultima Online, and it just wasn't the same for me. But I think part of that was because it was harder to kind of meet people to play with and stuff at that point. But
did you ever play EverQuest? Did you ever dabble in that?
I tried to play the newer one, like the one they made after the first one. I tried out the first EverQuest, and it was a little bit too old school for me at the time, especially coming from Ultima Online, because they were very different looking.
EverQuest Next never happened, right? They like scrapped that.
No, I don't think it did. Because I remember they had Landmark or whatever.
That looked cool.
Yeah, it did look cool. But Ultima Online, it was just really awesome community, really interesting systems at play. And honestly, they had a lot of community events and different stuff like that. And the way that you could be a murderer and you'd be flagged as somebody who was PvPing constantly and all this other stuff just really made for the type of game that even if you didn't know what you wanted to do at that time, you would just log in and hang out and just figure out, like, you would just hang out and figure out what you were going to do. Maybe see who was online and I don't know, go raiding or go to what was known as the Bone Wall.
I mean, I think we see some of some gameplay like that now with games that have come out. Like, again, we've used this reference, but the Rust and some other things where it gives you more of that sandbox experience. But I feel like a game like Ultima, I don't think would be successful now, because now players are so used. I don't want to use the term hand-holding, but they have to have
like a direction.
Yes, and now we're so much. Unfortunately, it's the Warcraft effect. So much has been pretty much set by that game.
For those exclamation points.
Right. It's all quest driven, and really it's got to have a progression, and it's got to have an end game, and which either leads to grinding or rating and better gear. I needed the gear and a PvP side like that. So much of ultimately, so what my understanding and remembrance of it was was so much more open.
Yeah.
You can just
you could buy a house. You could build furniture and build the house out and make it however you wanted.
Did you have a study with many leather bound books?
I did. I had a tower and a tower. There was a tower, and I went up to the third floor.
my magic spells there.
I did. I used my alchemy, and I made many friends because I was a friendly alchemist. No, but yeah, Ultima Online. Great stuff.
Okay.
Great stuff. Not your typical pick, but
yeah. Well, I felt very cliche with making this one my number one, but if I went back, if it wasn't for this game, I probably wouldn't have ever traveled down the RPG path that I did.
Yes.
And this was like one of the first. This was probably one of the first ones I actually. Well, no, it wasn't because there were other ones I was playing in anticipation of that. But probably a lot of people will have this on their list. Final Fantasy VII. I'm sorry, but it is the pick I made because I had the PlayStation, and I remember I pre-ordered this. I got like the PlayStation Underground demo disc, which gave me stuff, and I played. It had like the Mako Reactor raid was like a demo on there. I don't know how many times I played that. I think while I was waiting for this. Yes, exactly. Since I had that, I think I went and I played Wild Arms simply because I wanted to play an RPG in anticipation for Final Fantasy VII while I was waiting for that to come, which I really enjoyed Wild Arms, but I don't think that's a product of its time too. But just Final Fantasy VII for me was my first, like I said, my first like full scale RPG of that size that I got to personally play myself. Regardless of the fact that I had like 2 or 3 memory card issues, I had to restart the game numerous times to get past.
Good old PlayStation.
And the characters, the music, the story. I mean, the whole saga of Cloud and Sephiroth and Soldier and Zack and Eris and all this. It's probably a product of the age I was too. I had a for the pre-order, I had a Final Fantasy T-shirt. My birthday that year was a Final Fantasy VII cake.
What a nerd!
Yes, I'm very much nerded out about this game, and it was because of that it really opened me up to the concept of RPGs. Everything. I mean, I took my PlayStation on vacation in Florida to visit my grandparents, and I would sat there and grinded my characters to level 99 on vacation.
Trying to get to level 99.
I gotta get the Master Summon. Hold on, my materia isn't slotted yet.
I have Knights of the Round.
And you recently played through this game, so
I did.
mean,
I did.
You kind of you're still right there. I have no intention. Like this is coming to Switch. Couldn't care less. I have no desire to play it again. I don't think I can. If the remake ever comes out and it's accessible to me in some way, I kind of want to play it.
Yeah, I would play that.
I was the worst chat. I was the worst grandson ever, and I still am because I never visit. So
and if you did, you bring your PS1 with you. What a bastard. I think of Final Fantasy VII as kind of like the first milestone that I can think of the next generation of RPGs. You know what I mean? Going from Super Nintendo to this. I don't know if that's actually true, but looking back on it now, I can't think of on that timeline where something before that came and kind of showed me like this is how RPGs are going to be from this point onward. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So I mean, this led me down my path where I played Final Fantasy VII, 8, 9, Final Fantasy Tactics.
I still never played
Xenogears,
9. I need to play 9.
Saga Frontier 2. I played so many Squaresoft RPGs because of this game, and it really turned me onto the genre. And sadly, unfortunately for me, my time with RPGs stopped then, except Diablo, your action RPGs. But after the PlayStation, for me, like the Western style RPG never really caught on so much, and which is weird because I'm not like, when I think about it now and I look at them, like the JRPG doesn't really seem like it's going to be something that fits with my personality or my play style either. I mean, I'm enjoying Octopath Traveler. That's like the exception, but for the most part, like for instance, look at our comparables with Xenoblade Chronicles 2. I played it for 2 hours. You're gonna finish the game.
I hope so. It doesn't feel like it. I'm in chapter 6, and I'm just like, how much longer do I have to go? But yeah, and even though I'm playing it, I'm not in love with it. I'm kind of playing
Yeah.
it to finish it because I don't hate it, but I wouldn't say it's my favorite game, and I definitely won't look back on it like I do or you do with Final Fantasy VII.
Right,
So,
right. So I think you kind of nailed it. This was kind of like set a trend for a new console cycle, new generation of RPGs, and it I think for a lot of people it just resonates. Plus, we saw action figures, we saw a Final Fantasy feature film. I think
Well,
because of the success of
Final
this,
Fantasy.
and then we saw an actual, a film in the storyline of this game and
Yeah.
Advent Children. I think it's will always be an important game, and I think it's a popular game for a lot of people because of what it did, and I liked it. I liked it a lot.
I liked it, so I put it at number 1. um, so for
Yes.
me, speaking of number 1, my number 1 pick is something that I suppose looking back on it now just makes sense that I would even like it. And there was something vying for the number 1 spot, but eventually I ended up putting it as an honorable mention, and that's just because of the gameplay mechanics here. Dragon Age as a series, but
Took the cheap route.
I know if I had to pick one, I would say the first one, just because that's really what kind of lit that spark, lit the flame, so to speak. It hasn't aged very well. I went back and played it again on PC, which I actually enjoyed a lot more. It felt much more tactical and almost like going back to Baldur's Gate or something like that, where you had kind of an overhead action view and you just kind of doled out directions to all of your teammates and yourself. Because in the Xbox version, I pretty much remember just kind of doing my own thing, and then the CPU would just kind of handle the other people. But when I played it on PC, it definitely felt more strategic for me to actually pause the game, issue orders, and then have it play out for a few seconds until I decided I needed to do something else. But also just the entire lore of the game and all of the stuff that they put into Dragon Age was just really vibing with me, I guess. The whole idea that you kind of become this Grey Warden. It's always cool to me. I always get attracted to these things where you join a group or something, because same thing with Mass Effect. You join the Spectres eventually. But here, just all that lore of how you become a Grey Warden and not everybody survives the trial, and what the Grey Wardens stood for, and what the bad guys, I can't remember their name, but they came down, they live in slumber beneath the world and then pop through the earth and every so many thousands of years, and there's an archdemon and all this other stuff. It just, and the way magic worked, it just really, I don't know. It was nice to be able to kind of go into a world where it was the first game and you're just learning stuff about the world. There wasn't any preconceived notions about it. There wasn't like Final Fantasy, even though they're not connected. I kind of feel like I'm not caught up with what's happening, I guess. Whereas here it felt like a clean slate. And then of course, you got your Western RPG stuff going on with Dragon Age. So
I gave Origins a fair shake. I don't remember why I stopped playing. I think I was playing on Xbox, and I don't remember what eventually why I stopped. I don't know if I got stuck on a difficult section or what.
There definitely were some of those.
Yeah, I think I think this has been the one thing I've had a problem with some BioWare games, both in Dragon Age and in Mass Effect. Is if you pick a certain archetype, it really makes the gameplay a lot harder on you.
It can,
and it feels like, and I feel like it doesn't allow me to play what I want to play. If I want to actually have an easier time with the game or have a more enjoyable time with the game, I have to play a different way. Like in Dragon Age, I was a mage, which made things a little more difficult versus if I was a warrior or more of a traditional fighter. And much was again in Mass Effect, I was like the sniping class. I don't remember what it was, where you had and let's face it, if you're the more of the soldier, you're gonna have an easier time.
Yeah, it certainly seemed that way. I was the that you got shotgun. You always got shotguns, pistols, and some of the powers.
Pistols.
I can't remember what the powers were called though, because they had two. They had the tech powers, and then they had the other. I guess they were both tech, but I don't remember what they were called. I need to go back and play that series. But anyways, so yeah, Dragon Age.
Dragon
really
Age.
loved it. I mean, and then I went through and played the second one and Inquisition pretty much back to back, and enjoyed all of them. The second one to me was a little bit weaker than the rest of them, but it was different, and I think that's probably why a lot of people don't like it necessarily. But I'll just go real quick. My honorable mentions were all BioWare for different reasons. Mass Effect, the reason why I didn't choose that game and this particular RPG thing is just because it really feels a little too actiony. Even though you are leveling up. Yeah, that too. It felt too actiony just because it's basically a first-person shooter. Like, there's no number rolling happening behind the scenes. Even with something like Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines, I believe the guns only hit if you actually rolled a hit, even though it was playing out in first person in real time. So, yeah, Mass Effect was a little bit too much first-person shootery for me to really consider it an RPG in this list anyway. Baldur's Gate, again, one of those really early games that kind of fit into that medieval fantasy world that like lit my imagination, and I'd go outside and pretend I was in the game of Baldur's Gate. And then Neverwinter Nights, also kind of the same thing, except for now we're talking when we were in our LAN party days, I think. And so I just remember so much of that game because we all tried to play together, and there was just for some reason
convoluted, very difficult to do.
I think it's because they had like a DM mode where you had to have somebody be a dungeon master or whatever.
Like I had that game at a point in my life where I wasn't ready to have a game like that. I didn't really understand what I was playing, or how to play it. And I remember it was when we still had a Wizards of the Coast store in the mall that in the city where we live now. Back then we had to drive to it, but I remember I actually got it through Wizards of the Coast, and I remember thinking, "Oh, cool!" But hey, it did leave a lasting effect because I do have a homebrew, an Imperial Stout that is named after Neverwinter Nights.
That's
so,
true.
I mean, the Neverwinter Stout lives on in infamy, and it's a good beer. It's a mighty fine beer. I thought about doing an honorable mentions, but anything else I think that would fit the list were action RPGs, and I think that kind of doesn't quite fit.
You mean like Diablo or
like Diablo 2 would have been
Hack
on
and
there.
slash.
I would have put Dungeon Siege on there just because I really enjoyed Dungeon Siege for what it was.
fancy, look at me.
Exactly. That stupid goblin level that takes like a year to get through. Oh my gosh.
The underground one, I think.
Yeah, that was terrible. So that is our list. We did reach out to you guys, the community, and we did get a few responses. So we'll just go quick hits through that, and we'll share those with you before we take an overclocked remix break. It's me, Joshua Bones. Lost Odyssey, which was an Xbox title, right?
I had that.
Xbox, was that Xbox 360?
Xbox 360. I had that game, and it was friggin' excellent. Unfortunately, I kind of stopped playing. That was kind of when we stopped playing Xbox altogether.
Yeah.
So I never finished it.
Vagrant, Lost Odyssey, and what was the other one with that was the characters were designed by the dude from Dragon Ball? It was like Blue something.
Blue Dragon. Yep. That was a decent one too, but it was very childish.
Lost Odyssey, Vagrant Story, and Suikoden 2. Vagrant Story was a Square. Was that a Squaresoft? I feel like
it came out for the PlayStation, didn't it?
Yeah.
I want to say it was an action RPG or something.
Yeah. He also says #butts.
He always says that.
I'll let you read this next one because I don't even want to say his name.
Oh, okay. I will do that.
Dirty.
Adam Leon Hart did at the Art of Adam L says, number 1, Final Fantasy 6. Number 2, Chrono Trigger. Number 3, Final Fantasy 7. Man, you just made the same list as Jason. And number 4, Your Face.
Is that Final Fantasy 6 as in Final Fantasy 3 or Final Fantasy?
Nobody
I always
knows.
get confused how that.
I assume because Final Fantasy 6 is 3.
Hey, look at another list just like mine. NDH at Drunken Tiger 84, Chrono Trigger FF7, Legend of Dragoon.
I forgot about Legend of Dragoon. That was another PlayStation one, right? I believe.
I don't know.
Coach Hulk at Coach Hulk, he keeps it simple, says, number 1, Madden 18. I do enjoy leveling up my players on Madden 18.
I mean, there is character progression and story. I mean, you could make the argument.
The story's
I
out
mean-
there on the field. I won't disagree. Just
Yeah.
kidding. Yes, I will actually. Number 2, Oblivion, which, yeah, I could see that for sure. Obviously, because you're again, there's another example of leveling up by using
Boosting your ability.
using
I
your
never,
abilities.
those are
Other
Oblivion, Morrowind. None of those ever.
So it's
stuck with
open
me
world. You don't like not having that direction.
until Zelda.
You want to talk about a walking simulator? You know, some people make fun of the actual walking simulator games, but some of those Skyrim and
neither
Oblivion.
of us had Fallout on our list.
I thought about the first one, but it didn't. I didn't really have much attachment to it up until like 3 released, and that's why I didn't include it. And then number 3, Dragon Age Inquisition, which yes, that is a very good game.
Good game.
A good game.
Backlog Belmont, the Vampire Slayer, Grouchy Surge, Mr. Backlog Blues, in no
Balloon.
particular order. Dragon Age Origins.
Yes,
Shin Megami Tensei, right? Devil Survivor. I believe.
didn't know what this was.
I'm hoping that's what the SMT is.
Some of
and
that
Fallout. Oh, there we
anime
go.
crap.
There's a Fallout 3 right there.
Fallout 3, yes. Cigar Zombie at Cigar Zombie _TV. I can't talk bad about him because I think he's here. Number
might be
1.
listening.
He might be listening. Number 1, Mario RPG. It's classic, and I really wish they'd make another. And no, Paper Mario doesn't count.
I'd agree with that.
I always wondered because I see more Paper Mario than I do Mario RPG, but every once in a while you'll see some YouTuber play like Mario RPG.
I've started and stopped that a couple times, but I do have it here on the old Super Nintendo Classic. All the cords are too short. There it is. So I might play it. I might play it on there sometime.
Number 2, Lost Odyssey. The sheer amount of content and backstory were great. That game actually, there was a cutscene involving some kids and their mom that actually made me tear up, and I was like, "Am I really?"
You wuss.
I was a wuss. I felt like a wuss. Yeah, never mind. I could get more into it, but I don't want to. I was gonna crap on Xenoblade a little bit. Final Fantasy 9, right?
Yes, good job.
Thank you.
You did it.
Loved Vivi, and like I
Vivi
said,
is
I
awesome.
need to go through. My plan was to do Final Fantasy 7, then 8, then 9, and then I don't know where I was going from there because I need to play 9, and I know a lot of people who came in late say that they like it better than Final Fantasy 7.
I played 9 and I really enjoyed 9, but I never finished it for whatever reason. I got right towards the end of the game, and I think I felt I was under leveled for whatever reason. I think I just
that's
thought
a
I
very
was
good
gonna
feeling.
I'd get smoked by the boss, so I never played it through. But I think that is tempting for me to maybe to snag on Switch and play. Possibly.
Yeah, and now I'm glad that I waited because I was going to get these on Steam, but I'd rather play all of them on the Switch and just kind of hop in and out as I go.
I mean, let's face it. If you're taking a dump, what's a better way to take a dump than play some
You
Final
draw
Fantasy?
some Final Fantasy 8 and you do the draw system.
Yeah, God.
I'd like
No, I'll
some
be playing
magic, please.
I'll be playing the card game all the time. I did like the card
that
game.
card game was badass.
And then Kevin shared it with us on Discord. You can too. Just go to fluxtaposed.com/Discord. Earthbound, and Chrono Trigger. Now, I think Kevin's list does deserve Fallout because Kevin is a pretty big Fallout guy.
Well, and he was also being a silly goose. I think he would have added it if he wasn't.
Yeah, because when you called him out, wasn't his updated list just Earthbound 3 times?
I think so, yeah.
I mean, I got really far in Earthbound on the Wii U, but I didn't finish it, and then I sold my Wii U.
Welcome
so.
to Earthbound.
There you go.
Said Will Smith.
That is
that just
very
stopped everything.
Very nice. That concludes our top 3 RPG discussion. Thank you, everyone who sent their list to us. Now we're gonna do a little. We're gonna get out of here. Well, we're not gonna get out of here. We still have more show left, but we're gonna do an overclocked remix, a break, and we'll do some much plan, and then it'll be done. So Lucas has to urinate, so we need to do this quicker than usual. And as always, we feature a random remix from the latest mixes of OC Remix. We have a problem, Lucas. Looks like they just released
I was just looking at that.
A Seiken Densetsu
3
album. So there's a good chance we might get some. I almost think we should just play that Super Mario Odyssey remix because I don't think I've seen one from there.
Let's roll the dice, and then that'll be our backup.
If it's Castlevania, then we'll be just playing Super Mario Odyssey.
All right.
I like it.
I'm gonna roll.
Roll those dice.
Well, it's not gonna be. It's not gonna be Seiken Sletsu. 2, 3,
Oh, that's
4,
good.
5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Super Mario Odyssey.
It is?
Yeah, is that the one you
Wow.
wanted?
Yes.
Oh God, apparently I wasn't even paying attention.
Oh my gosh.
Look
that's
at
awesome.
you. Look at you picking
I
the
willed it.
remix.
I used my force powers.
Oh my gosh, they're real. I question everything.
I said, where does one learn this power? Not from a Jedi.
Is it possible to learn such power?
That's
Not
it.
from a Jedi.
I would need to get back to the game. I want to play it again. I need to do it.
I do too. Well, this is a game. This is one of those games where I was like, I only want to play this on the big screen. I don't know why, but I think it's just because the field of view and you're doing a lot of jumping and platforming and such and what has you.
Yeah. It does work off a little bit better than that. So our remix this week does come from Super Mario Odyssey. It's called "Smell the Steamy Flowers."
Smell
From our remixers Ruben 6 and Gamer of the Winds. This is of course Super Mario Odyssey, released in 2017 on the Nintendo Switch by Nintendo. Features the Steam Gardens theme from the game. It is folk rock. It is chill. It is energetic, and it's not 10 minutes, so that's always a plus. I think the Mario games always have really good music, so I think those are always a great thing to pull from. And I'm surprised, we haven't seen more mixes from Mario Odyssey on OCR. And I think this is actually, let's see, this is the first. Wow, yeah, this is the first one on OCR.
Really?
So, how about that?
Wow. Yeah, I haven't gotten far enough into it to really remember or play enough of it to really remember much of the music. But what I have heard is good. You know what I mean? It's one of those things where you're just like, yep, I'm playing a Mario, or at least I'm playing a Nintendo game.
It's got like that good musical feel and presentation that just, I think that permeates through Mario games as a whole.
Sure.
Especially once you go through Nidong City, that part's really cool once you get to there. But are you ready, sir?
I am.
All right. Well, we are going to play this remix. We're going to step away just for a quick minute while that goes. We'll come back. We'll do some what you play and finish off the show. And remember, you can find this remix and quite a few more over at ocremix.org. Lucas is going to play it. He's going to take care of business, and we'll be back for some more podcast fun. Stick around. I played a little Yaz flute there for you.
Was that Jeff
friends.
Rotel?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I think it was.
Good. Tuscan rated. Sorry, I'm just saying random words now.
That's okay.
I read what was
I mean-
in the chat. The hilarious joke that you made.
Yeah, you know what happens from time to time. That was our OC remix. Now it's time to roll through some what you plan. Oh, very nice. That always takes me back. Lucas,
Yes.
we have some controversy here, and I was
What?
afraid this was going to happen. So
Whoa. Yeah.
last week, Tuesday,
It
Mega
was
Man
a
11
Tuesday.
released. It launched.
Yeah.
We had to postpone the show. I was like, okay, give me a chance to stream. I'll stream Mega Man 11. Maybe I'll play it again during the weekend, and then starting on Mondays, we'll have an event. Mega Mondays. I'll stream Mega Man 11.
Monday.
And then I finished it over the weekend instead.
At least you streamed it while you were finishing it, though.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. That game is hard. Like, I did not think, like, if you watched my first play, I get through the Brickman stage, or Blockman, whatever the heck his name is, because the same level in the demo. I'd already played it. And then I couldn't even get to the end boss any other level. And for the longest time, like, I played it after I went to, I think I put the game down until Thursday. I tried playing it after I went to the Venom with my brother on Thursday. Shameless plug. I did see Venom this week. And I couldn't, same problem. I couldn't even make it to a boss. And then I sat down here whenever I did stream it. And I was like, okay, I'm going to use the upgrades. I'm going to abuse the energy tank system there. It's there for a reason. And then I finally, I started gaining some momentum, took out some bosses. I think I stayed up late Friday night and I played it. And then when was that? Was that Sunday? I think I streamed, or was that Saturday? I don't remember when I streamed it.
I think it was Saturday.
And I finished the game, which I didn't expect to do. It was like 4.5 hours was my total play time. And I have to say, I've had time to think about it. And it's a good game, but I don't think it's a great game. And I think the Mega Man formula, just as much as I hate to say it, it just doesn't work anymore. Like, for like a lasting game experience. It's just, the game itself feels just kind of empty, you know? And I think it's time. I think it needs to expand a little bit further or change things up, because I almost feel cheated in a way. I mean, not for the price of the game, but I guess I expected more game. I guess I expected more game. Like, I think
I did too.
Closest thing we can compare this to, I think, in recent is like Shovel Knight, which is, you know, similar in a way. But look what that has done with that type of gameplay, and it's delivered a story and an experience. And while I like the rock paper scissors approach of the Mega Man formula, it just feels a bit stale now. And I'm a big Mega Man fan. I think that's clear. I think that's clear when you look at our podcast that we like Mega Man and we're influenced by it. Hell, look at our sprite arts. It's a direct ripoff of Mega Man.
Yes.
So it kind of hurts to say that. With that said, though, I love the animation. I love the art style. I would love to see Mega Man 1 through 3, you know, remade in this engine. I'm looking forward to maybe what Mega Man 12 does if it's built off of this, because I think that's going to be a superior game. It just felt kind of empty in a way. You know, it has some nice bells and whistles there, but the game itself just left me wanting a little more. If I had to put a number on it, I think I'd firmly put it in the 70s somewhere, you know, like a 75, 78. I think that's a fair score for it, because I just think there should be a little more there. And yeah, there's some other modes. There's some challenges that I don't really have a desire to do. I could try to beat it on superhero difficulty, which doesn't really sound fun either. I just, like, now that I finished the game, I don't, why should I go back to it? You know, I don't feel like there's reason to go back. I guess to become more proficient at killing the robot masters, maybe. But I'm a little disappointed at that. And I was surprised that I only got 4 hours, 4.5 hours playtime. I think 3.5 is kind of the par on this one.
When I found out how, like, that you had already beat it and everything, I was kind of thinking to myself, I might not buy this now, at least not until it goes on sale. Because
yeah. What was that deal? What was that deal you found that was Mega Man 11 and then the 2 collections for like
basically every
$60?
single Mega Man game that had been made for $60? Yeah.
Yeah, that's a better deal right there in and of itself.
true.
So I still think it's a good game. I still would recommend it to anyone that's a fan of Mega Man. It just, for me, it was a little disappointing because I guess I don't know what I was expecting too much, but I guess I was expecting a little more. Like what you get in that demo with like that fight feels very dynamic with the way he transforms mid fight, and I thought we'd see more of that throughout the game, and it just it didn't. And like some of those levels, man, were like excruciatingly difficult, and then you have to start all the way back at the beginning again with how far apart the checkpoints were placed, especially when you're dealing with spikes that are insta death. I mean, ugh. Not fun.
I saw the pain of the.
You saw the pain.
Spikes.
You saw the rage. So,
and I told you to use the rocket jet or.
And I didn't. I said no. I'm not using the rush jet.
Yeah, rush jet, not rocket jet.
I didn't do it. So, I don't know. I'm sad that I feel this way a little bit. And I guess it could have been a little bit more.
It's a step in the right direction, though.
It is. It's just hard. It's just hard now because that genre, like the side-scrolling platform, is. Look what we've gotten this year. We've gotten Shovel Knights. We've gotten Hollow Knight. We've gotten, I think, really, really good
examples of this.
Yeah, experiences in that world. So that a slight downer, but still positive. I'm still playing Debris Infinity. I love it. I had people on Twitter tag me in screenshots and call me out that they beat my score, and then I'm like, oh, it's go time. And then I started playing it, and I almost had another top 10 score. I ended up for a top 12. I beat a score, and I was like, don't challenge, don't poke the beast. You're going down. Don't do it. And Tecmo Bowl tourney's still going on. I had a fun match with Donnie. Had to play as the terrible Seattle Seahawks.
I saw him get wrecked at the end.
I still squeaked out a win, so I am in the finals for the PSVG Nintendo Shack Tecmo Bowl tournament. And then we're watching it. It's Halloween. We're trying to watch some spooky stuff, so we watched Paranormal Activity. Don't think we had ever I feel like I've seen enough bits and pieces, but my wife and I together had never sat down and watched that.
The first one's definitely the best one.
Yeah, and it definitely suffers from its setting in time. Like I can see how back then how much more effective this would have been, but now it's like it's just not. I don't know. It's kind of like, okay, like it wasn't really that scary anymore, or spooky, I guess. I guess what I have to do. But I guess I can see. I can take the merits from the film though, and I can see what has happened, and how the industry has done with that. We have a community grab bag question for the chat, so thank you very much, TP Poker, because we'll add that to our show notes and we'll hit that up after we get through what you plan. Then I've got TV shows I'm watching. Like I think I went too far back with Adventure Time, but I am now in season 3 of that.
Were you watching some episodes where
I was watching some stuff that I didn't remember, and then there were other episodes that I distinctly
I felt that way too when I tried to go back to it, and of course Hulu or whatever doesn't remember your progress. I started at the beginning and I'm like, I don't remember any of this, but then I got into things where I'm like, okay, I definitely remember this though.
Yeah.
So I don't know if the episodes were shuffled around or what, but I ran into that as well.
So, these weren't shuffled around at least, but I just had gone back too far. And then, it's that time of year. I've got plenty of other shows that are restarting now on their network. So watching all the things now, Lucas. I'm watching all of the things. And I think that's really it for me right now.
Okay, good, because I got some stuff I want to talk about. Starting with Forza Horizon 4. This is the new hotness for everyone, apparently. At least everyone with a computer or an Xbox. I didn't realize so many people were into racing, because anytime I talk about racing, I just watch people's eyes glaze over and they just kind of stop paying attention. Or maybe that's just because I'm talking. I don't know.
They make that face when Donnie and Carol start talking about Xenoblade.
My gosh. I even make that face, and I'm actually playing the game.
If it happens this week, I'm quitting. I'm done with the show.
They won't even let me come on the show. Forza Horizon 4. So here's the thing. I'm playing on the PC. I had to use the Windows 10 store to get the game, because I used the Game Pass, because I figure I'd rather pay like $20 for 2 months of this game, because that's about all anyone ever plays of a multiplayer game until they move on to the next thing. So look at Sea of Thieves. Nobody's playing that anymore. So I was like, I'd rather just basically rent the game.
Thank God I didn't buy that game. Can I just say that?
Yes.
Such a freaking gem that I got that through Game Pass and then canceled. And
you got lucky. You dodged a bullet. Well, here's the thing. The Windows 10 store sucks balls. And I can say that confidently because I've had to deal with it. So I downloaded the game. First of all, it's like 70 gigs. So that's a problem. That's not Windows' fault, but that's like, okay, I'm going to start this at night and just let it download overnight because I'm not going to wait 10 hours to play the game. It was downloading fairly decently, but for some reason, Windows 10 just didn't want to download that quickly compared to like Steam, for instance. Never really have too many issues with Steam downloading forza Horizon was taking forever.
I believe it's pronounced Forza.
Yes, that's true. I have definitely heard enough people say
Fortnite.
And so then the other thing was I have a steering wheel, which is why I was so excited to get people I can play with and actually utilize this damn controller that I bought I've used it enough to justify it, but kind of went to the wayside a little bit. And it's one of those things where I'm just like, okay, this thing's collecting dust and I saved up for it and I feel bad now. So I hooked that up and everything. And I'm getting used to it because it's always a little bit, for instance, many simulation racing games will allow full 960 degree turning with the steering wheel and it'll be 1-for-1. Here, your in-game model only turns about 90 degrees one way or the other. So
okay,
even though you continue to, I'm pretty sure it still registers as at least somewhere in between 960 degrees. It's not, that short of an actual turn. It just looks weird. So I had to make sure that I can't see my guy's hands because it's just weird to see them stop and it kind of plays tricks with your mind. The other thing that happened is I went to play this game because, of course, there's a single player portion that I feel.
Too bad you can't play this in VR.
I know. Dirt Rally in VR is awesome. Being able to look around you as you turn is I miss that in this game. But so I go to boot this game up again the next day because I want to collect some cars and make sure that I can at least race with some other cars that people might have, because most people usually want to race with the performance cars, your Lamborghinis, your Ferraris, that type of thing. So I want to make sure I had some of those options available. I boot up the game, or I go to load it up, and of course you have to do it through the Windows Store, and it is telling me that there's something wrong with the files or whatever it said. I'm just like, okay, whatever. It's got to verify the file integrity. So I say okay, and it does its thing. And then it decides it's going to re-download the entire game. So the time that I spent downloading the game, I had planned on actually playing. This was during my kid's nap. So I'm just so frustrated. So I spent the whole time downloading it instead, again, for whatever ungodly reason. And then the other things were I was trying to stream it. It doesn't allow you to game capture. It makes the game close immediately. So that's something that they have to work on or figure out. And it was also, every time I'd boot it up, it kept telling me my drivers were out of date or whatever. And I literally had just updated them to the newest official release, so to speak. But it wanted the beta releases, the optional AMD Radeon release.
Okay.
And I usually don't do those because it can be a little scary. So I did it because I had to, and thankfully those problems went away. So all of that was kind of my first experience of Forza. After that, when I finally actually got to sit down and play, I had a great time with it. It has a great car selection. It has everything from Forza, just less simulation and more. Forza. Sorry. Great presentation and everything. Looks great. So I'm having fun with it. I want to play with people. I tried playing PvP, or what they call PvP, but every time I start a lobby, nobody joins. So I'm not really sure what's going on there. But I'm looking forward to playing with some folks online.
Callow will be there for you.
Yeah, well, I basically forced him to buy a wheel. So
I forced him. He said, "Hey, Cal, this is pretty sweet. You should get one." All right, dude. I'll stop.
I already bought it.
Yeah.
Yes, that was crazy. man. But I'm glad
Are
it
you
worked
using the
out for him.
pedals too?
I am using the pedals. Yes, I wish I had the. I would be using the shift box and the actual like clutch and everything if I had it. I'm saving up for those.
Step your game up and get Isaac on that. Callow's got his kids racing now.
I know.
We need that Callow's kids versus Isaac. This will be the race.
His problem is now they want to play it all the
racing for
time.
pink slips.
Oh gosh. Well, you can have my crappy car that's on jack stands right now. And then of course I'm playing more Resident Evil HD remastered, streaming that as I go. So that's always fun. Jason,
It's good for a laugh.
Yeah, well that's
good
for
for a
sure.
laugh.
Especially when you go through a door that
We're
was
getting
previously
some high quality Twitch clips out of this
Oh my
campaign.
gosh, I know. And then I died that one other time and lost all my progress because I didn't save. But or I went through that door and I knew something was wrong with the door when it kept telling me that the door handle was a little loose and it didn't have many more, I don't know what they call it, entrances and exits left. And I'm just like, okay, whatever. Then I went through it realizing I just went through the wrong door because that damn game, you get turned around so easily. I feel bad for anybody watching because all I do is bring up the map half the time. And I'm just like, wait, which room am I going in again?
Which map? The in-game map or your hand-drawn map?
My hand-drawn map has, well, the thing about that is I enjoy having it because I wrote down all the locked doors and what keys I needed. However, when I'm streaming, nobody wants to watch me sit down. Like, hold on, let me just update my map with my hand-drawn cartography skills. Nobody wants to see that. So it kind of went to the wayside, and I guess I'll just keep updating it. But eventually, I'll have all the doors unlocked, so I won't have to worry about it as much after that. I watched a movie on sort of a couple of people in Discord's suggestion called High Tension. And
That's never a good idea.
Yeah, apparently. Well, Josh was one of them that said that I should watch it. Josh Barboni.
He never died.
He never died. Great example of why you shouldn't listen to him in anything that he recommends. Although I hear he's good about board games, so maybe that's the one thing.
Yeah.
And hashtag
He's bored.
butts.
He's bored with video games though, so that makes sense.
That's true. Although they talk about them a lot on their podcasts, so maybe not so bored with video games. High Tension. This is a French-made movie. Came out in 2002, so that's going back a ways. I mean, that's like watching a 80s movie or 70s movie back in the day when you were a kid and you thought an 80s movie. Why would anybody watch an 80s movie? It's 1998. Look at Titanic. This is the pinnacle of films. It'll never get better than this. That's how I sounded when I was 12 or 8, maybe 10. I don't know. Math. So High Tension. Anyways, French film. I was kind of digging it. It was sort of weird. There's a part where spoilers, I guess. Spoilers for High Tension if you haven't seen it. There's a part where it's a thriller where a guy's killing people, right? And he's going around and he's taking victims, and much like Michael Myers or Freddy or Jason, not you, different Jason. And
rightfully so.
So he goes into this house where our main character is, and the guy answers the door, the dad, and he basically forces him to put his head through the stairs on the stair side, so his head sticking out on the other side, the wall side, I guess you would say. Then he grabs a piece of furniture and pushes it so hard that it rips the guy's head off. It just looks so not realistic, and I'm just like, what am I watching? But after that, like, it kind of cooled down and it got pretty good. It was kind of filled with some high tension, and it managed to, I don't know, it had like this weird grungy feeling, and I was just kind of getting into it. And then the ending came along, or at least the last 15 minutes, and it did this thing, spoilers again, where the killer was the main character the whole time, Jason.
Oh my god.
Mind blown. Kaboom. No.
Gosh.
I went back and I thought about it. I'm like, that doesn't make any sense at all. It just was one of those things where it just felt like a cheap cash in of an idea where we'll just like try to blow their minds with this twist at the end. But it didn't make any sense. Like, if you go back and think about it, I don't understand how that even works. I mean, I guess you could justify it with well, maybe this and maybe that, but I shouldn't have to do that to fit a narrative into a story. terrible. I did not like it at all at that. It felt like it spit right in my face and made fun of all my sensibilities.
I don't think I've ever had a desire to watch this movie, and now I know I don't need to.
You don't need to. I mean, it's a good example of why you shouldn't do that. Maybe not the best one, but definitely high up there. Why you shouldn't just put in this trick ending that is only a trick because you didn't write the rest of the movie to reflect that ending and have it make sense. And then lastly, so yeah, that was high tension. Lastly, this is something really important I want to talk about. I don't know if this will resonate with everyone the way that it did with me, but thanks to the library, I've been reading more comics than I ever have before, more graphic novels. Jason, I see you clicking on the link, and that's good. You should buy it.
Yep.
Add it to cart. This is a graphic novel. It's short. I finished it in one sitting. Took me about an hour to read, I think, give or take. It's called Level Up by, I'm going to butcher these names, by Jean Luen Yang. Jean Luen Yang. Why can't I say Yang instead of Hang? Jean Luen Yang and Thien Pham.
Yan Luan.
You'll know it because... yes, that too. Polka King.
Is your
that's
name,
a callback.
Is it Jan or is it Yan? Whichever. Yes.
So Level Up is a comic about a younger guy who is going to college, and it tells the story of how he got into video games, what role they played in his life, and what college and going into med school were like for him because of his family and expectations. And things happen in the I don't want to just tell you the story because then there wouldn't really be a point in reading it, but especially because it's so short. But basically it's this guy's journey and telling of, I don't know if this is based on, has any truth to either the writer or the illustrator or anybody, but it tells the story of a guy who kind of struggled doing something that he loved and giving it up for his livelihood, basically, because he should be doing med school.
Okay.
And how that all kind of plays out based on how he deals with not playing video games, how he deals with having friends in med school, and kind of his own personal breakdown. And I don't know, it just really resonated with me because I'm not really trust me, I'm not in the position that I feel like stressed by having to go to medical school or anything like that. But for anybody who's ever played a video game and felt like people scoff at them for what they decide to do as a hobby, I know that these days it doesn't really happen as much, but I think around that time frame when I was that age, it definitely felt that way. I think it applies to those types of people who, I don't want to say need justification for playing video games, but at least need to feel like it's okay that you're not constantly doing the grind and that you are taking some time for yourself to do the things that you like. It was really great. I can't say enough good things about it.
I will add it to my library queue.
Do it
right now.
It's only $10 on Amazon.
I have a hold that's ready to pick up, and I haven't been able to make it to the library since Friday to get it.
Well, I hate when that happens. But yeah, well, you'll probably be waiting for me to I have to return this because I'm done with it. But that's probably the only copy they have. But yeah, really good. Level Up by Jean Luen Yang, and it's on Amazon.
Oh no, they have it. They have it available in my library, so it'll be ready to pick up tomorrow.
Nice. You'll have it done, and heck, you'll probably read it on your lunchtime. So it's good stuff. It's good stuff. And that's it. That's pretty much everything.
Did you like Nimona?
I finished it, but I was waiting for you to finish it to talk about it. I liked it. I will say this and only this about it. When I went into it, I read like the first couple, maybe 3 chapters, and I thought, is this just a collection of web comic stuff that's not going to really tie in together at all? Like, is there going to be one overarching story or no? And the answer is yes. There is an overarching story. It just doesn't feel like it at first. So
I was worried that the text is a little small. I think I wish the panels were a little bit bigger.
Oh, okay. Well, I think they're handwritten too, which It's not always
Yeah,
as legible.
That's true. I think you're
But
right there.
I did enjoy it. Yes, it wasn't a waste of time.
All right.
That
Sweet.
one gets
Well,
really deep towards the end.
Okay. I'm enjoying it so far too. I think I'm like in chapter 4 or 5 or something like that. So
Good.
kind of scratched the surface. I was hoping to read it at work this week, but I haven't taken breaks. I've been too busy. Plus, we had a checkup for Aiden today, so had to get shots. All right. Well, let's do the community grab bag. Let's get out of there. We had a question come in from the chat from a random viewer that stopped by. That says thanks, and may I say this stream is great. Well, you haven't been here long enough yet, sir, or madame, to learn.
Probably left. Like, I'll take my answer off there. Screw you guys. Takes too
I wanted
long.
to say that before he gets into his main question. On a side note, now that Betty White has passed on, do you think they will reboot Golden Girls? Well, I've done much Googling since this question was posed to us. I can't find any evidence to support the passage of Betty White. But do I think they'll reboot Golden Girls? Yes, because Hollywood can't, and media in general, we can't come up with any original ideas. We're either taking things from the UK and adapting them for American audiences, or we're taking books and turning them into films.
Yep.
So I think this will not be a TV series, though. My prediction is it'll be a movie.
Yeah.
And I would think it's going to have to involve somehow. It'll involve Kristen Wiig and Melissa McCarthy. And
who's the girl from? Who was the girl who played the wife in, or the girlfriend in that movie we watched, Mastermind or Masterminds? His wife. It'll have her too. She's a comedian. I can't remember what her name
was. Wasn't that Kristen Wiig?
No, man, I gotta look it up now because it's gonna bother me. She was on Comedy Bang Bang, and
that doesn't do any good. I didn't watch
She was
that.
hilarious. Well, that's the only reason why I know her is what I was trying to get at. Jeez, Kristen Wiig was in this movie. She just didn't play her.
That's what I thought.
She was the love interest, so to speak.
Yeah.
Kate McKinnon. My God.
Okay, that was gonna be my other suggestion. So basically, it's the cast of Ghostbusters again. Another.
Yeah, I forgot she was in Ghostbusters. Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh
but,
no.
I mean, that's what they would do, and it'll be a movie. Yeah, it won't be a TV show. It'll be a movie. Kate McKinnon has to be the Estelle Getty, though. She has to be the oldest one, because she just, it's so fitting.
All I can say is, thank you for being a friend. Travel down that road and back again. My heart is true.
Is that going to be our outro music this week?
You're a friend
on the edited version,
and a confidant. I could probably get it for you right now if you really are jonesing for some Golden Girls theme song. But the thing is, what you gotta do is you gotta get the entire song extended version.
just do it. I don't care how.
I don't care how you get it done. Just do it.
Just get it. Just do it. Okay, perfect. Well, yeah, thank you for the question. Appreciate you stopping by the show. Hopefully you come by the streams another time. And hey, if anybody else, when you watch the live stream, if you want to throw a question out there, we'll hit it up in the community grab bag, because that is what we do. Next week on the show, we're going to go back to another edition of The Games That Made Us, where Lucas and I profile a game that really set us up on our gaming paths and resonates with us.
Bomb.
Yeah. All our base are blocked us. Yes. So at this time, I have to say thank you to all of our patrons. If you're interested in supporting the show, please check out patreon.com/Fluxtaposed. Check out the goals we're looking to reach. And it's slowed down a little bit. We are working at adding some more physical rewards to fine patrons to incentivize you to become fine patrons of Fluxtaposed. So with that, we say thank you to all of our patrons, but it's special thanks to our Arbiters of Awesomeness, Kevin Austin, Kyle Heyman, Edwin Callow, Tyler Rowland, Tom Servo, and our executives of excellence, Josh Raboni, Dan Anthony, and Siri Renee. As always, we thank you for your support each month. Find us on social media, search Fluxtaposed, and come by Discord. Again, it is fluxtaposed.com/Discord. That will get you the invite you need. And that's going to be it for Fluxtaposed this week. We'll see you on the next one. I have an empty bottle of Oktoberfest Marzen.
Why is
So
it
good.
empty? You need to
I drank it. I drank it when I beat Donnie in Tecmo Bowl.
Oh, you didn't even announce what we're going to be doing after the show.
Oh yeah, we're gonna stream some Overcooked.
I mean, you put it out there, and
Because I'm getting sleepy already. But yeah,
you're
for
like,
anyone
I didn't
that's
want to do that.
everyone's here in the live show, so we're gonna shut down the stream, and then we're gonna fire it up with a little Overcooked 2 for some late night number killing
Cook 'em.
fun. We brought our numbers up a little bit with the live show to try to get to affiliate status, and we're gonna bring them back
None
down
of those people ever want to come
with,
back.
with a late night game stream. So, yeah, that's it. I'm done talking now.
But-
Outro.
Bye.